Shandong Longchang Animal Health Product Company Limited is one leading grain feed additive manufacturer in China, serving more than 6,000 feed manufacturers and over 10 million farmers in husbandry industry, with solutions to reduce production costs and improve production performance. Lachance Group has been specialized in R&D of bioacids and other grain feed additives for more than 10 years. Lachance Group has one professional management team with 8 doctor, 20 master degree holders, 8 executive masters of business administration, and 20 experts with rich experience in feed formulation and husbandry technique. The Lachance R&D Center is equipped with the most advanced testing instruments, which are used to guarantee the product quality and provide customers with lipid and mycotoxin testing services. The R&D Center has research centers for hepatobiliary and fatty acid metabolism. In July of 2014, Lachance obtained new feed additive certificate from Ministry of Agriculture of China. Bioacids can improve the digestion and absorption of fat effectively. Lachance now owns a number of invention patents for production facility, process, and testing method of bioacids. In 2011, Lachance invested $7 million and established the new factory with an annual production capacity of 4,000 tons of bioacids, which can be used in 50 million tons of feed and sell millions of dollars for feed manufacturers. Lachance launched happiness feed extracted from Eucommia omidase to replace some antibiotics and improve antioxidant capacity of the body, which plays an important role in promoting husbandry without antibiotics. In 2018, Lachance launched Eucobiotics, which is a safe and green product to inhibit bacterial growth, repel parasites, and protect the health of respiratory system and intestinal tract. Lachance has the mission to develop the natural extractive feed additives, save production costs, and improve production performance of husbandry industry. Lachance products have been exported to USA, Egypt, Russia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and other countries and areas, and well received by customers from international markets. Lachance Group will increase the investment in scientific research and development of green, safe, and environment-friendly feed additives, and work together with customers both in China and abroad to promote the safe and healthy development of the husbandry and aquaculture industry.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar sponsored by Shandong Longshan Animal Health Products Corporation Limited, with the theme Strategies to Cost Reduction and Performance Increasement During Ramadan in Global Muslim Countries. Lachance Serve Global Tour, Muslim Specials. My name is Mia, and I am your host for today's webinar. Before we begin, please be reminded with our housekeeping rules. All microphones and videos of the attendees are automatically muted. If you have any questions to our speakers, kindly type your question in the Q&A box and we will entertain them right after each presentation of the speakers. Should there be any disruption during the webinar, please be patient and try to sign in again. Furthermore, we will have 4 poll questions in between the presentations, so feel free to participate in the poll. Please stay tuned with us until the end of this webinar and make sure you answer all questions so that you can receive a special gift from Lachance. Also, we would appreciate if you can join our Lachance regional groups to know more about them and connect for future business opportunities. All you need to do is scan the QR codes flashed on your screen of the area that you are from. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our first speaker. Our first speaker is a Prominent Technical Service Manager at Shandong Longshang Animal Health Product Corporation in China. He worked for 16 years in the animal production sector as a ruminant nutritionist and dairy project manager across the Middle East, Africa, and China. He also published many papers in a scientific journal about the application of rumen-protected amino acids in ruminant nutrition on Holstein dairy cows and neonatal calves. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Samy to present his topic about the innovative solution for animal fat nutrition and liver health. Dr. Samy, the floor is yours.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Samy Abdelaziz. I am a technical manager at Lachance Group. Today we have a presentation during the part of the conference. My presentation today titled Innovation Solution for Animal Fat Nutrition and Liver Health. During the presentation, we have a few parts, global overview first, and second, introduction to Lachance Group, and third, introduction to bile acid, and the mode of action and the mechanism, and the application, and we will give applicable cases for our trialment here in China. And the last one, overseas customer. Today, the time and the world is a little challenge because some things is affected on us. So what is influencing us and the industry in animal production and the poultry sector? There are many reasons if we discuss about this. The first one, the feed price, the high feed price. And the second, the inflation and the interest rate, and also the fall and the energy price, supply chain, and the fluctuation and the change in supply chain and supply and the demand. And the labor price also affect. The war and the conflict, as example, what was happening at the beginning of this year, and the conflict in Russia and Ukraine as example, and the other conflict around the world. Drought and the flood also in different places in the world, fertilizer price and availability, and pesticide also, herbicide, the price and the availability, both of them is affected. Process limiter, as example, milk supply and slaughter. For feed price, I would give some slide in this part. For this, for the global overview, if we take a look in the left side for the wheat and the corn export during the 2021 and 2022, the current year. Here in this figure, we can show the wheat export, the major wheat export in the world. European Union and Russia and Australia and Ukraine is the major producer of wheat in the world. Russia participates 16% and Ukraine about 10%, and the rest of the world contribute 27%. If we look at the corn export during this current year also, the United States shares the large part of the corn, 33%, almost 1/3 of the global production and export in the world. Then Brazil and Argentina, and this is two countries located in Latin America. And Ukraine also shares a large part, 14%. The rest of the world in this case, only 12%. And here in the right one, we can show the global production of cereals contain the main group of cereals like corn and wheat and the barley and sorghum and the oats and rye. Corn is the major one. Total production globally about 1.2 billion metric ton. And the remaining part of wheat and rice also around 1.2 million combined together. That is mean corn share about 50% of the seller. The second one for the oil seed and export. Here we can take a look at the sun meal and sun oil. This is the two product is mainly produced in Russia and Ukraine. Ukraine in the blue one, more than 50% of the total production and export in the world, and second of Russia. The rest of the world contribute only 20%. For the oils, for the sun oil also, this is the after manufacture of sun to produce oil. About 50% from Ukraine and 29% from Russia, and also almost similar 20% from the rest of the world. The other product, sunflower seed and rapeseed oil also, and all of this is used as animal feed, the source of animal feed to provide protein and to provide source of fat also. The share is a little different from 4% up to 17%. This is for Ukrainian side, and for Russian side from 3 up to 25%. That is for Russian side. The rest of the world is a major contribution in this part for the sun and the rapeseed oil. In the right one, we have the available amount to export for the wheat in the year 2020. Russia is the major one, contribute 37 million metric ton. It is available to export. And is the second United States with 26 million metric ton, and is in Canada and France and Ukraine. So Ukraine, 18 million metric ton is almost the half amount to be exported to the globe, if we compare with Russia. And the last one, Germany, with the availability of 9 million metric ton. So for the global food production, how the conflict can affecting us. As example, if we took the current situation, the famous one like in Ukraine, the conflict in Ukraine and Russia. Here is the major countries that dependent in the wheat and sellers and corn from Russia and Ukraine. As example, Egypt and Indonesia export 543 million metric from Russia and Ukraine, and Pakistan and Turkish and Morocco, and the last one is Philippines. Okay. In the right one, we have barley and the maize, and this is the share of the global market volume. For Russia, the market volume 14.2 and Ukraine 12.6 of the global market share. This is for barley, and this is for the meal, and for sunflower and sunflower oil, and the last one for the wheat. Russia contribute 24% for the wheat in the global market share, and following by Ukraine is contribute about 10% of the global share. Here also we can show which countries is most affected with fluctuation in wheat rate between Russia and Ukraine and the rest of the world. Here we have Yemen and Sudan, and as example, United Arab Emirates. United Arab Emirates is imported 47% from its need from the wheat from Russia, and a few amount from Ukraine, and 50%, about the half of it is need from the rest of the world. And the ratio is different from country to another. As we discussed, the inflation is affecting all our industry, and the rate of affecting is different from country to another. Here we took as example of the inflation developed in developed countries. We have selected 5 countries from the developed one, and we study the rate and the difference during that time. If we look at 2020 during the pandemic, the inflation is almost constant. At the beginning of 2020, after the world become a recovery, so the price started to increase. And the increase is different from country to another. Here, Japan is almost constant and similar before the pandemic. The inflation is different from country to another. As example, United States recording 16% higher inflation compared with the before the pandemic, and United Kingdom and Germany between 10 up to 13%. For the food price, the major index to measure the food price is FAO food price index. FAO food price index, it is a measure of monthly change of international price of a basket of food commodities. This group contains 5 categories of food commodities. Here, this is from 2007 up to 2021. The figure is quadratic and different in the response and shape of the price in the world. Sometimes is increased during a few years as here, and sometimes is lower. During the last year, the price is more increased and more higher than before. During the last year, it reached up 140. That is mean is almost more than during the previous year, and this is a consequence of many factors because the war, because the inflation, because conflict, in addition to other factors that affecting the supply chain and the food and the industry. For the milk price, we can choose this data is received by FAO from 2016 up to 2021. In 2016, in 2016, the milk price is stated in $30 per 100 kilogram of milk. And after that, it started to increase, and we have to stop in this time the quota in Europe and in America, and the pandemic that started at the end of 2019 and during 2020. And now the price is about 48 United States dollar per 100 kilogram of milk. If we compare the current price with 2016 price, so almost more than 50%, because the combination of the price and the many of factors that we discuss here at this time. As a consequence for the increased milk price, so this is will affect in the whole food supply and the price of the commodities also in the world. For the world milk production, in the milk, we have 5 categories. The main part of milk production is produced by dairy cows. Dairy cows contribute more than 80% of the milk production in the world, followed by the buffalo and then a few amount of goats and the sheep and the camel. For the world milk production, this is, we can show in this. Here we have the static and the value of our milk production from 2012 up to 2020. This is divided by the area and the continent in the world. We can choose that the major milk producer is coming from European Union in the green one, followed by Asia, including China and Southeast Asia, and followed by North America, coming from United States and Canada, and then followed by amount produced from Latin America, like Argentina and Brazil. The remaining small part is from the rest of the world. Total milk production currently is different from source to another. In general, now it is about 700 million metric ton. In the left one, we can choose the world production of the compound feed to feed the animal and the industry. Poultry consume about 28%, and this is the major part of consumed the feed, followed by the pork. For the beef and the dairy together, is contribute 22% to consuming the feed production. Layer hen consume about 14%. The last small amount from aqua and the pets and other species. Currently, the global feed production is about 1.2 billion metric ton currently produced annually in the world. If we look at the global animal feed market during the 5 years annual plan from 2021 up to until 2025, we can choose the growth rate during the last year, 3.6. It is increased even during the current situation of pandemic in the world and lockdown, but also still grows higher and recording the growth rate. The average growth rate during the 5 years is to be 4% from 2021 until 2025. This is based in the average annual growth rate per year. For the 5 years, the incremental growth to be recorded more than 100 billion United States dollar during the 5 years. So this is gave to us an idea about the shape and the performance and the growth rate of the feed industry in the globe. In the globe and in the market, there are a fragment because there are several players occupying the feed and the market industry in the world. as example for the Cargill, New Hope, and other major players in the world. Generally, the market impact is positive and they take plus. For the milk and the feed, we described this in the previous slide. So here we can show for the meat production in the world during the last few years by the million metric ton. The major source of meat in the world by poultry is almost the major part, and the second from beef and the veal in the gray one, and a small amount from small ruminant from sheep and the goats. For the global egg production is still continue also to grow. Development of the global egg production from 2008 until 2018, starting from 50 million ton, and now is reached nearly to 80,000 million ton of egg production globally. If we take a look, the chart is an increase is linearly from 2000 until now. This is deriving by the increased consuming of egg and increasing the quality of the food production and increase the total world population also. In this part, we give a brief introduction to Lachance Group. Lachance Group is started in 2004, headquartered in Jinan in Shandong province in China, in east of China. And the factory production is located in Seyfi County in Shandong. Lachance always developing green and safe and efficient additives to serve a global feed industry. It is aimed and pursued and has won the trust of customer and the steady growth of market sale. This is a certificate of approval of using bile acid as a feed supplemental in animal nutrition. This certificate is issued by Ministry of Agriculture in China. Some certificate such as GMP, Good Management Practices, and for there are other certificates for ISO and for management also. Source of bile acid during there are many steps to manufacture and sciences bile acid. Start from saponification and oxidative decolorization and filtration, and the last one of drying and package and storage. For bile acid, this product is halal product and it doesn't contain any other derivative that affecting our religions. That the commercial name is Ronin, and this is to be used in the marketing and in the selling area. If we talk about bile acid sciences, we can show in this figure the procedure and the step of sciences bile acid. The first one, bile acid is sciences in the liver from cholesterol via 7A1, that is 7-alpha hydroxylase, to convert to primary bile acid. Primary bile acid is a cholic and chenodeoxylic acid. Then to combine with taurine and the glycine before stored and secreted in the bile. After that, to be secreted in the small intestine after eating. In the small intestine, in ileum, to be absorbed via ESBT. It is apical sodium bile acid transporter. Then to return back again to the liver via peripheral circulation. About 95% is returned back to the liver for resynthesis and to reuse and to resecretion again. The remaining part is a small part, about 5%, and this is to be reached to the large intestine. In the large intestine, the primary bile acid to convert it to secondary bile acid by microbiota located in the large intestine. Secondary bile acid like the deoxycholic acid and the lysocholic acid and also the oxalic acid. Some amount is reabsorbed again and returned to the liver, and some amount is to be exerted in the face. This is the first part. The second part, in the small intestine, after absorption of bile acid, is activation several nuclear receptors. The mean of this FXR and the TGR5. FXR, it is a farnesoid X receptor, and this is to be active. This is the bile acid receptor, and to be activated when combined with bile acid when it's reached to the small intestine. FXR is participating in controlling lipid metabolism by activating several genes that involved in lipid metabolism. And also TGR5, it is Takeda G protein coupled receptor 5, and this also is a nuclear hormone and also is activated by bile acid in the small intestine. The mode of action of fat digestion and the role of bile acid. The fat, globules, and the lipid to be emulsified by bile acid. Bile acid making emulsification, that is meaning increasing the surface area to be available for absorption by lipid enzyme. We can show here is the bile, here is the fat, and here is the bile salt. Bile salt is a compound with the fat to make emulsification and the droplet and micelles. After that, to combine with the lipase to make micelles. This micelles to be absorbed via a small intestine wall. After that, to be recompounded again to make triglyceride and to carry out by lipoprotein to the lymphatic to be secreted and stored in the body tissue. So in this case, fatty acid emulsification and the micelle formation in the small intestine is the important part, and the important step in the efficient and the absorption of fat in animal. And here we can show also some details about the digestion and the absorption. The details is explained in the previous slide. As bile acid and the fat and most of other nutrient is controlling by fat. So fat is the primary function and is doing a large work and important function in our body and the metabolism of food. A brief summary of fat of liver and this function, you can summarize here. This is just a brief, but this is not all. This is just the main important. The first one is participating in metabolism of fat and the protein and the carbohydrate, and also secretion and synthesis of bile acid, and assist in detoxification of endotoxin and the mycotoxin, and then now also in aflatoxin B1 by using bile acid, and the purification, and also in enzyme activation, such as ELT and ACT. ELT, alanine aminotransfer, and ACT, aspartate aminotransfer. This is the common enzyme produced by the liver. And also liver storages glycogen and the vitamins and the mineral, and also excretion polypropylene and the cholesterol and the hormone and the drug, and also sciences plasma protein like albumin and clotting factor. So because all these factors and the important activities, the liver is exposed to the number of insult, and one of the body organ most subjected to injury in our body. Bile acid can protect the liver and enhance a small intestine and health of the animal by stimulating, as example, by stimulating the liver to synthesize very low density lipoprotein, so it can reduce fatty liver, and also decomposition of toxin in the animal, so it can improve the liver function, and the liver heals subsequently, and also promote the secretion and regulation of bile acid. And also bile acid as signal molecules, it can activate bile acid receptor, so it can controlling and modulating fat metabolism. The new perspective and application of bile acid. The first point of this is bile acid. This is the first product produced in the world as a commercial side here in China and also in the world. Bile acid play an important role in fat digestion, which lead to an increase the absorption and the efficiency of lipase and the amount of nutrient to be reached to the small intestine and to the blood, and finally to improve the animal efficiency. The second, bile acid, as we mentioned, is activate FXR. FXR is a bile acid receptor and is activated when it's combined with bile acid when it's reached to the small intestine. After activation, it regulates many gene expression involved in lipid and glucose metabolism, and also liver regeneration and inflammation. The third one, bile acid regulates secretion of intestinal hormone such as GLP-1. This is glucan-like peptide 1. GLP-1 produced in the small intestine in L cells and is participating in glucose metabolism. Finally, bile acid, after doing this work, assists in decreasing the incidence of fatty liver and improve feed conversion in animal. So the last part I would like to show you application of bile acid in some cases here in poultry. This study is published in Journal of Applied Poultry Research in 2018. It is conducted to study the effect of high dose of bile acid in broiler feed, in growth performance, and some blood metabolites. The study contained 324 one-day-old Arbor acres, male Arbor acres. Body weight about 44 grams. This is primary weight or initial body weight. In this experiment, the chicken is divided into 3 groups. Each group contains 108 chicken. Each treatment contains 6 groups, and each group contains 18 chicken. Okay, so in total we have 3 treatment, and each treatment has 6 group or 6 replicate. Okay, the study continue for 42 days until its slaughter. The diet formulated contain corn and soybean meal, and this is as the main feed stuff in the diet. The bile acid inclusion in this experiment ranged from 0 and 80 and 400 milligram per kilogram of feed. That is equal 80 and 400 gram per metric ton of compound feed. Okay. The parameters that used in this experiment, they measure the gross performance, like average daily gain and average daily feed intake, and the feed conversion ratio, and the mortality and the blood parameter also. And here, this is the feed composition and the feed ingredient. During the experiment, the chicken fed to ration or to diet. The starter feed, this is during the first 2 days of the experiment. And the second diet, this is the finished diet from 2020 at the slaughter or at 42 days. Okay. The rate of corn and the soybean meal here in the first 60% and 32%, as this is the major feed stuff. And in the second diet, in fisher diet, it is decreased the amount of soy to decrease the crude protein in the diet. So in the first diet, in the starter diet, the crude protein 21%, 21.5% exactly, and it decreased 1.5 in the grower diet to be 20%, and the other feed stuff and the premix. Okay, so this is the feed composition in this diet. In this experiment also, they add some amount of methionine in the diet to improve the metabolizable and the profile of amino acid. If we look at the result of this experiment, we can show here the result and how bile acid can affect on growth performance of the chicken, broiler chicken. The body weight at the end of the experiment is higher for chicken receive the second treatment, 80 milligram bile acid. It reached 2.3 kilograms, and it is higher than the other two the other two treatment. If we look at the second stage of the experiment, average daily gain and average daily feed intake and the feed gross ratio, feed conversion ratio, is improved also in the second one. So we will take inside a look at the end of the experiment, the time of slaughter and complete the experiment. So we can show the average daily gain and the average daily feed intake, and subsequently feed conversion ratio is improved in the second treatment. Second treatment, the chicken supplemented with 80 milligram bile acid per kilogram compound feed. So the average daily gain per day, 54 gram per day, and it is higher other than two treatment, about 3 grams improved and higher in other two experiments compared with the control and 400 gram treatment. And as the average daily gain improves, that means the average daily feed intake also it's higher, and the chicken consume more amount of feed to support growth rate. And as a result of improved average daily gain and increase the feed intake, so this is lead to improve the feed conversion ratio. Feed conversion ratio 1.65 in the second treatment, and it is higher than treatment and the control treatment. And the difference is statistically in this side. Okay, the average daily feed intake also is still higher compared with other two treatment. The effect in hematology in broiler, it is most of parameter, it is not significant. Just in last one, platelet, it just give a trend 0.8. The effect of bile acid in blood chemistry in broiler, the main part I would like to mention here is that the effect of glucose. Most of the parameter it is not significantly differ for the liver enzyme like ALT and the ACT. Okay, and for glucose it is improved for the second treatment for the animal feed bile acid, and also for the control comparing with a higher dose. So that is meaning bile acid, it may be affected in glucose metabolism and finally the animal performance. So if we summarize the conclusion in this experiment, body weight and the average daily gain is improved by 80 milligram per kilogram of feed by supplementing bile acid. And the result indicating that the high dose of bile acid, 400 milligram per kilogram compound feed, is not caused any change in animal performance and will considered to be of toxicological significant. So the nominal bile acid concentration of high dose was suggested to be no observed adverse effect of chicken. And the significant decrease in glucose concentration with the higher dose, that is mean the bile acid is affecting the glucose metabolism, and this lead to decrease the glucose concentration in the blood. For the last part, the cooperation with the overseas, there are many overseas cooperation with our company from American and European and Southeast Asia and Australia. Some of major cooperative like Nutrico and the Cargill and InVivo and Nutrit, and some major partner in Egypt like the Kahliya and the Jordan and the Chile and the other Latin American countries. And also in China, we have Heidi Group and the Tonwi and the New Hope company. So that is all in our part, and if there any question or inquiry, please write in the section and comment part. Thank you all, and thanks for your cooperation. And thank you again for your cooperation and for all participants in this conference. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Samy, for your very insightful presentation about the animal fat nutrition and liver health using innovative solution. So we have actually seen and learned that the global meat production from 2016 to 2021, and it's undeniably that the top source of meat is from the poultry sector. And we also learned some applications of the bile acids in poultry. So I believe these learnings are beneficial to our audience today. So before we proceed to our Q&A segment, why don't we have our poll question? so we can interact with our audience. Just make sure you will answer all our poll questions today so you can get the chance to win a special gift from Lachance. So now we will flash on your screen these poll questions and you have 10 seconds to answer. Are you a farm customer or a paid field customer? So you just type in, pick the question and the answer in 10 seconds. All right. Time's up. Okay, so thank you to everyone who answered our first poll question. So we're now moving into our Q&A portion. May I invite Dr. Samy to join us and open his camera. And if you have any questions to him regarding his presentation, please type it in the box that which you can find on the bottom part of your screen. So we actually have a couple of questions here. All right. So
okay, hello. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Samy.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, so we'll just take a few questions from our audience today, and you can answer this live. So one of our audience, he asked, according to your projections, how long will the crisis of rising feed raw materials last?
Yes, this is the first question. Based in the current situation and as we discussed during the presentation, there are many factors that control the feed price. Okay, so not only one factor, there are many factors that control feed price. And most of this is out hand, not our control in us. So for us in the current time, what we will do, we can try to manage the feed and the management. As example, try to manage and reformulate the diet to decrease the cost and to save energy in the broiler feed. So this is as example, and this is one solution. There are many solutions, and this is just as example to solve this. If we try to decrease the cost by saving the energy and to minimize the energy in the diet, so this can decrease the cost. So finally, it will be beneficial for the producer and broiler feed for this point. This is just, I try to summarize the question as soon as I can. Okay.
All right. So I hope that answered your question. So moving on to our second question. Can you explain how much normally bile salt and lipase are endogenous produced to the broiler?
Okay, for this question, this is a good question, and based to answer this, based in the research and the trial conducted by Lachance group last a few years and published in scientific journal, broiler chicken can tolerate up to 400 milligram per kilogram feed. That is mean to add up to 400 gram of bile acid to 1 ton of compound feed. So the broiler feed can able to tolerate this, and this can add without any adverse effect of broiler feed, and it can improve the growth performance and feed efficiency, as we presented also in this PPT and also published in scientific journal before. Okay.
All right. So I think there's a follow-up question from the person who asked that first question. He's asking if can you tell him the quantity of MGG in saliva or others.
For this point, if I got your point well, this is different from species to species, from animal to animal, and also based in the age of animal in each species. As example, in broiler chicken, the amount to produce is different from a small chicken, and the old chicken is different from layer from a small layer to the old layer that chicken produce egg, and also is different from breeder chicken, is a small one than old one. So this is just not similar in the production. So that is in this point. So it can try to add supplemental to improve the efficiency of secreted bile acid in animal, to improve the profitability and to improve the gross performance, and finally to improve the quality of meat and the quality of egg produced. So we can save and assist consumer and assist customer and assist human to provide high quality food.
All right, so I think you have explained it well. All right, so we will move forward to the next question. Can you explain how bile acids interact with glucose? I think you can explain it in a brief
Bile acid.
Answer.
Yeah, yes. For this point, bile acid is high density energy product, and it can replace to decrease the feed cost in the diet by replacing the high cost ingredient, to decrease and to save the feed cost. The in-broiler feed, some ingredient it is high cost. As example, soybean meal, it is high cost, and this is the main source to provide protein and also to provide energy of the animal in the broiler diet. The protein in chicken in the starter one, it is high. It can up to 21% and even 22%, and sometimes 23% even in some time. So bile acid can replace some amount of soybean meal and oil, so it can decrease the cost of the diet, and also at the same time keeping the nutritive analysis and the chemical and the nutritive value of the diet almost similar. So in this case, we can provide high quality feed to the animal, and also at the same time minimize and decrease the feed cost. So finally can improve the profitability of producer also.
All right. So I think we have a limited time for this, so we're just taking the last question. So the last question is, in case of broiler from day 1 or at day 35, how much difference of bile salts and lipase production?
For this point, during also the presentation, the amount of bile acid added to the diet ranged from 0% and up to 400 gram per ton. And the best result is at the end in the second treatment that added 80 gram per metric ton. And this is based in the current study. There are also some studies under performed now here in China and also in other countries with our partner. So this is at the current time and the current situation.
Okay.
And also for lipase is enzyme and is secreted by pancreatic, and it doesn't add in the diet. It is produced in the body of us and also for the animal. So this is just a brief answer for the last question.
All right. So I think that's it for our question and answers portion to Dr. Samy. So once again, Dr. Samy, thank you so much for your time in joining us today. And if you have any further questions to him, just type it in our Q&A box with your email address, so Dr. Samy can get back to your question through email. Yeah, correct. So once again, thank you, Dr. Samy. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you all for all attendees and participate, and for the partner.
All right. So now we can move forward to our second speaker of today's webinar. He is a professor in ruminant nutrition and feed technology of the Department of Animal Nutrition and Feed Science. He has been working on various researches and community development, trainings, and workshops. He also did some international collaboration and has become a speaker to a number of international forums and seminars about the animal health and nutrition. He has received various recognitions, including the Charter of National Achievement Award in the Innovation of Food and Agriculture from Minister of the Agriculture in Indonesia. I would like to call on Professor Ali Agus to present his topic on how to reduce feed costs through feed technology, including feed additives.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks for the organizing committee. This is a good opportunity for me, for us. My name is Ali Agus, joining our young staff, Dr. Muhsin Alanas, that we have prepared some slides about the approach in searching antibiotic replacer and improving feed efficiency in Indonesia under Indonesian circumstance. Let's introduce myself briefly. I'm the lecturer from the Faculty of Animal Science, Universitas Gadjah Mada, Yogyakarta, Indonesia. My research interests so far, more or less, for 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, focusing on the feed technology and also animal nutrition. I graduated from France, at INRA, France. With our team, we have done some trials in poultry nutrition, especially because since a couple of years, we are concerning about how to formulate rations that's more cost effective. And of course, the role of feed supplement and feed additive is more and more important, especially after the restrictions, or even it is not allowed to use antibiotics in the rations, especially in Indonesia. Government regulations start since 2014. Start have regulations that the antibiotic is not permitted to use in the ration, including for layers and broiler in Indonesia. So first, thank you very much from the organizing committee, Lachance, that this is time good cooperations that we can share our experience in the under Indonesian situation. First, I would like to briefly an introduction. I think everybody knows Indonesia is one of the biggest four in the populations. The Indonesian populations 2021 reached more than 279 million people. Every year, increasing the population number, it's around 1%. Of course, with the increasing the populations, governments focus on how to provide food for the people, for the Indonesian citizens. When we look about the consumption, especially in the chicken meat consumptions in Indonesia, when we compare with other countries. In fact, our level of chicken consumptions, chicken meat consumptions is relatively low. Comparing, for example, like Thailand, Indonesian chicken meat consumption is just 7.3 kilogram per capita per year, while other countries like even Thailand, Philippines, Egypt, Japan, China, Vietnam, and so on, up to United States. Malaysia is one of the biggest chicken meat consumption, with the capacity or the level of consumption is around 47 kilogram per capita per year. So under this circumstance, I think opportunity to develop broiler industry, broiler farming in Indonesia is still largely open. For example, with the number of populations to 179 million people, when the level of chicken meat consumptions increase, for example, by 1 kilogram per capita per year, it means the number of chickens must be produced, feed must be produced, and other business related in, like of course raw material of feed, maybe protein feed, and also feed supplement, feed additive, and so on. It will also increase in the near future. This is a figure of poultry industry in Indonesia. When we compare more or less 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, the production of broiler, for example, that consists of 42% of the total of productions, and the times still at the level of 9 million ton kilogram, ton. Around 9.5 ton of broiler. But 10 years later, 2020, almost double the level of production of broiler. For example, in this case, the level of broiler production is around 11.3 million ton. For the broiler productions. So the increase of broiler production in Indonesia is quite faster. Of the broiler industry in Indonesia is significantly faster and grows quite well. And then about the feed production and feed consumption in Indonesia. From this figure, we can see that almost 90% of commercial feed productions is to livestock, while around 10% is for aqua feed. Last year, the level of production of commercial feed is around 22.5 million ton, while for aqua feed, around 2.3 million ton. So the development of feed mill industry from 2 years, this figure we can see from 2010, for example, up to 2020, in 10 years, the increase of feed production and also feed consumption is more than double. In 10 years, the livestock feed production double from 10.7 million ton in 2010, but in 2020. Becoming 22.5 million ton. And then what about the feedstuff? Of course, when the livestock feed increase in the point of view productions, since we are very familiar that for the poultry feed compositions, 50% as the source of energy is coming from corn or wheat. Indonesia, I think 50% is coming from corn as the source of energy. So the demand on corn for supporting the animal feed, at least we need 9 million ton corn. While other raw material like soybean meal generally consists of 25%. Yeah? So the demand on soybean meal and other animal protein meal, yes, around 4.5 million ton. This is the Indonesian situation. And we can see that local corn price right past a couple of years is increased because of other causes like the problem of the corona, COVID, and so on, that limits the transactions among the countries, while our corn production is also limited, not enough to cover 100% of corn demand in Indonesia. That's why the feed cost in Indonesia since at least 3 years ago, from 2019, from 2019 up to now, like 5 months ago, or 2021, we can see here the figure that the price of soybean meal fluctuates and also tends to increase. Last year, the increase of soybean meal price is also significant. The same issues for corn. The corn price tend to be higher. Even the price is more than 10% higher than before. Like this figure here, the price of corn is almost 5,000 rupiah. It seems how much in US dollar, but the percentage of price increasing more than 10%. This is a case that should be anticipated by all of the farmer and poultry industry. The cost of feed costs will be a challenge for Indonesian livestock industry, Indonesian poultry industry especially. That's why our concern is how to find out the alternative of raw material that is abundantly available under Indonesian circumstance. One of the potential of local feed raw production, that is palm kernel meal. But we understand that palm kernel meal is even can be used as protein sources, but this feedstuff cannot be used directly for the poultry. Since a couple of years, a challenge and a trial to use palm kernel meal in the broiler rations or in the poultry ration generally is still quite low, less than 3% in the ration. But already good, even this is around 3% of palm kernel meal can be used as the feed component, feed ingredient. Maybe for you that is not so familiar, what is the palm kernel meal? The palm kernel meal is produced of palm oil. Indonesia is one of the biggest palm oil plantation in the world. Maybe the production of palm oil in the world is almost 60%, while the area of plantations not less than 12 million hectares in all over part of Indonesia. That's why Indonesia considered as one of the biggest palm oil plantations. In this palm oil plantation, there is byproduct of the oil or crude palm oils extracted, and then there is palm kernel and palm kernel oil from the main product of palm oil. So we have here palm kernel mill. After kernel of the palm oils was pressed to have to take the palm kernel oil, and then we have here a palm kernel mill. Palm kernel mill production in Indonesia from time to time, from year to year. At this time being, we have around 6 million ton of the palm kernel oil. This is a big opportunity, as the feed raw material. So the feed industry and also poultry industry would like interest too much, how to substitute the increasing cost of corn, for example, soybean meal, and so on. So in the rations, formulators of feed mill industry would like to find out the suitable alternative of feedstock. So in this case, we are interested in palm oil or palm kernel mill as the protein source. This is the figure that chemical nutritional characteristic of palm kernel mill, and also treated by using hydrolyzed palm kernel mill. When we compare both of them, this is palm kernel mill, while the left side of this figure, the hydrolyzed palm kernel mill on trimetal protein, crude protein. The crude protein is not difference between palm kernel mill and hydrolyzed palm kernel mill, around 16%. Crude fiber also around 12 or 12.39%. Fat also still, I think this is a good opportunity when we use palm kernel mill, since the content of palm kernel mill, whether hydrolyzed or not, still around in the normal palm kernel mill, crude fat around 7.5%, while hydrolyzed palm kernel mill increase around 12%. So for the poultry rations, utilization of palm kernel mill would be much of interest, because there's also fat as the source of energy. This is metabolizable energy for poultry. Yes, of course, this is quite low compared to the corn, because 1 kilogram of palm kernel mill contains just around 2,400 or 2,500 metabolizable energy. 2,400 kilocalorie of metabolizable energy for poultry. The content of calcium as well as phosphorus, relatively low, but there is quite rich in amino acid like lysine, methionine, cysteine, threonine, tryptophan, valine, isoleucine, lysine, and arginine. So we can see here that the composition of amino acids in the palm kernel mill is also quite interesting. This is interesting to see. We have done also a trial, the utilization of palm kernel mill as the protein source. This is published already by our team In this case, Anis et al. 2022 have already presented in the United States last year. What about the feed intake, body weight, and feed conversion ratio? This treatment by control palm kernel 1, palm kernel hydrolyzed 1, palm kernel meal 2, palm kernel hydrolyzed 2, and combination. The trial like this, while control standard diet from starter, grower, and finisher. This is palm kernel meal with low level intake, only 2%. But for the other treatments, like here, treatment 3, 4, 5, and 6, level of PKM is higher, like hydrolyzed PKM or PKM only without hydrolyzed, from 3%, 7%, and up to 10%, the utilization of palm kernel meal. And also we try to use a combination between palm kernel meal and hydrolyzed palm kernel meal. So we have 6 group of treatment. We will see what about the feed intake, for example, is here. Feed intake, body weight, and feed conversion ratio. The blue mean is starter period, grower, and finisher. But from this table 3, this is in fact palm kernel meal that we use for soybean meal substitution, up to 10%. But in this case, we also supplemented with Indo 1.4 beta mananase enzyme. In fact, the digestibility of palm kernel meal is not so high. So when we see here about the slaughter weight of broiler, of course the palm kernel meal at the level low, 1%, 2%, 3%, there is no difference when we compare with the control. But when we compare with the higher utilization of palm kernel meal, whether palm kernel meal or palm kernel hydrolyzed, the slaughterhouse tend to lower compared to the control. This is also the case. Of course, carcass also lower. The percentage of carcass not really difference, but also tend to be lower when we use the higher level of palm kernel meal, hydrolyzed or not hydrolyzed. Breast carcass, cooking loss, water holding capacity, tenderness, and so on. And there is still better in the control rations. So from this trial, substitution of palm kernel meal and hydrolyzed palm kernel meal, when we supplemented with Indo 1.4 beta mananase enzyme, have opportunity for broiler diet formulation, but higher level may reduce broiler performance and efficiency. So we can see here that when we use more than 3%, 7 up to 10% in the finisher ration for the broiler, the performance tend to be lower when compared to the control. Addition of palm kernel meal and hydrolyzed palm kernel meal with high level, for example, in this study, 10% on finisher phase had lowest body weight, although there's not effect for feed intake and feed conversion ratio. For the parameter of carcass trait, like carcass yield, breast meat, tenderness, pH, this is a significant decreasing when the level of PKM increase, like tenderness, water holding capacity, pH, and so on. So the quality of carcass of broiler seems to be affected by the inclusion of palm kernel meal in the ration. So the trial still need to be done, be developed, especially we should look forward for the amino acid balance should be considered in the version of palm kernel meal or hydrolyzed palm kernel meal. This is the way how to try in reducing feed costs by substitution of corn or sumber protein source like soybean meal, yeah, by using local feedstuff, in this case palm kernel oil. Another approach would be the addition of feed additive, for example, by using essential oil. This is also our trial. This data have been presented in the International Scientific Forum in the United States, I think last year. This is a trial that we would like to compare between antibiotic and essential oil. The objective is how to find out the antibiotic replacer. The question is whether essential oil, yeah, can be used as the one of antibiotic replacer. This is our trial, yeah, by body weight from 1 to 28 days, and then when the broiler slaughter at the older age, for example, at age of 35 days. So here we can see that using antibiotic compared to the essential oil, the result is different, higher, but even better for the age of 28 days, while for older age, like 35 days, it's almost the same. Yeah. So it is quite interesting. Yeah. By using essential oil can be used as the antibiotic replacer. This is the body weight gain every week. We counted every daily gain, feed intake. FCR is not the difference between two treatments. And the FCR is around 1.26 and 1.27. And on the parameter of mortality, yeah, by using antibiotic compared to the essential oil application, seems there is not very clear comparison, but essential oil seem to be effective to decrease or to limit the mortality. This data on the speaker indicated clearly and statistically significant. By using essential oil have lower mortality comparing to the utilization of antibiotic. So in these situations, the average mortality of Indonesian broiler farm is around 6 to 7%, which was observed in the antibiotic treatment, while essential oil seem to be able to improve the mortality rate or to decrease. It means to decrease or to limit the mortality rate of the broiler by using essential oil. Yeah, this is a result that we have done. And then on the point of view, carcass parameter, for example, body weight, then carcass presentation with quality, pH, cooking loss, serve force, water holding capacity, moisture, and so on. When we compare the control between the essential oil, yeah, it seems the control means by using also antibiotic. So essential oil addition in the drinking water, only 1 milliliter per liter water, increase increase the carcass yields, improve cooking loss, tenderness, and water holding capacity. I think as the parameter of broiler meat quality, this data would be much of interest. It seems to be potential for antibiotic replacer. And other trial by using organic acid. By using organic acid, when we compare with antibiotic, with antibiotic and organic acid, we can see here from the age from 0 up to 35 days of the farming. Yeah, here we can see. But between antibiotic group, without antibiotic group, and also organic acid, seems there is no significant difference. When we cut the non-significant difference, means organic acid is correspond or relatively equal in the point of view performance of the broiler, comparing to the ration that containing already antibiotic. This is, I think, good issues, because up to now we are looking for the alternative of antibiotic replacer. This is still on organic acid. What about the effect on feed conversion ratio? Among the treatment, there is no difference. So we can say that organic acid is promising antibiotic replacer, and also have demonstrated improvements on performance, even better result than treatment with antibiotic in the previous. Even there is not effect statistically really different. So we can say that under the circumstance of increasing steadily the feed row, feed cost due to the high cost of corn as raw material, also soybean meal, and also other protein feed. The use of palm kernel meal, treated or untreated, and then supplementation of feed additive like essential oil or organic acid, quite interesting to be considered for in the future perspective. We have trial also. We have done the trial by using premix mineral. In fact, we call it multi-functional feed additive. Not only essential oil, not only organic acid, but also we use macro and micro minerals. That we call it premix mineral, multifunctional premix minerals. So we can see here one trial in the egg production for the laying hens. And there is no really difference about the parameter of egg production, egg mass, feed intake, HDA, FCR, and so on. But we find that this is several times the analysis on cholesterol level of the egg. The control treatment is higher rather than treatment. I mean the treatment by using a premix mineral. While the protein albumin is also quite interesting. There's increase. So we can say that even the parameter of egg production, egg mass, feed intake, and the average and feed cost ratio, it's not significant comparing with this two treatment, control versus treatment. No difference, but on the point of view cholesterol level and protein albumin, there is a difference. So utilization of premix mineral at the level 2 kg per ton feed tend to improve the productivity and laying egg. So utilization of premix mineral also 2 kg per ton feed has 34, almost 35% lower, 34.6% lower in cholesterol and 12.9% higher in total proteins compared to the control group. This is also for the parameter of egg quality, like egg mass, length, weight, albumin head, albumin weight, yolk head, yolk white, yolk color, and so on, up to the case of this treatment. Even the data indicated no difference among this group. But utilization of multifunctional feed supplement 2 kg per ton feed to improve the egg quality. Finally, I would like to close the presentations by a take-home message. Firstly, it is important to find alternative source of sustainable raw material for feed production in Indonesia, since the cost of raw material is increasing. Another option would be by using palm kernel meal, whether treated or non-treated. And then secondly, feed additives are needed to increase nutrient utilization in broiler productivity. Yeah. The third one, organic acid, essential oil, or even multifunctional premix. That's not only source of mineral, but in combination, combination with essential oil or organic acid, seems to be potential as the antibiotic replacer. However, further trials need to be done to make sure the effectiveness of this type of feed additive, organic acid, essential oil. And finally, the quality of poultry products can be developed from the feed additive and supplementation. I think that's all. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any inquiry or other questions, please feel free. If I could respond, otherwise I should find out the way how to respond the excellent questions. It's maybe not so easy to respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time to share with us your knowledge on how to effectively reduce feed costs using the technologies available in Indonesia. But one of the main takeaways that we learned today is that there's a need to find alternative sources of sustainable raw materials for feed production in Indonesia. So now let's just take a little break. So we will have our second poll question. Remember that if you complete all our poll questions today, you can get a special gift from Lachance. So I encourage everyone to stay with us until the end of the webinar and participate in our poll. So for our second poll question, we will flash it on the screen. Will you please share the size of your farm or feed mill? You have 10 seconds to answer. Okay, time's up. So we're done with our second poll question, and I think it's about time to entertain some questions from your audience. So Professor Ali, please be ready, and I'll take, I think we can just entertain 3 questions. So one of the questions is, what is the effect of 3% palm kernel meal infusion on color and taste of meat?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, do not able answering this question because we didn't conducted any trial or research on this skin color and so on. So we do not know yet whether there's more bright color or not. Yeah, I think it is much of interest because the color of skin and media would be preferred by the consumer, but we don't have any data for this moment.
Okay, so that's all right. So I think we can move on to this next question. Earlier you presented a study that you conducted. One of the audience asked, what kind of essential oils are used in the conducted study?
We use a combinations. Yeah? Not only is not a single essential oil. There's a combination of several essential oil, 4 or 5 combinations. There is not a single. Why this combination? Because we are thinking about the complementary effect of this essential oils. Yeah? This is a combination. I would suggest that a combination is better, not a single. Yeah.
Okay. So another question is, what is the mode of action that you think is related to decreasing mortality rate by using essential oils compared to antibiotics growth promoters?
It is a good question. Up to now, we don't have a really a good understanding of the mode of action of the essential oil at the level of cell, for example, and how this essential oil can limit or decrease the mortality. But one of the hypotheses, one of the justifications, it seems essential oils combination of several essential oil improve the health status, immunity, and so on by decreasing the harmful of the bacterial. This is some of scientific paper published 5-6 years later. The one of mode of actions by essential oil is can limit the bacterial infestation and so on. So, but in our data, there is not really great difference, but tends to be lower, comparing to the control ones.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Ali. And I regret that we couldn't entertain more of your questions. But once again, if you have any questions, just type it in the Q&A box, and Professor Ali will address it later. So once again, thank you, Professor Ali, for staying with us and for
There is
explaining the topic.
Still, it seems there is another questions about the premix. What's the premix compositions? Yeah, may I respond briefly about the multifunctional feed? Yeah, multifunctional feed additive. We consider that a single effect of like essential oil and then combination with organic acids. We use the organic acid like butyric acid, and citric acid with a low dose, low level, and then we combined with micro minerals, completed with like essential oil, organic acid, micro minerals. That's we compile, we make a mix of this supplement or feed additive, and it would be of interest in the future. So I think it is a challenge to find out the antibiotic replacer by a combination of feed additive and its line, a combination. Yeah, I think there is a good challenge for the future. Thank you very much. Sorry for.
It's all right. So thank you once again for your time, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay. So we're now going to our third speaker for today's webinar. Our third speaker is the Deputy Chairman at the Tetra-Force Nutrition Incorporated and the General Manager of NutriStay Trade and Consultancy Limited. Let's all welcome Mr. Seyfi to discuss the innovative and profitable growth enhancers for poultry in Turkey. Mr. Seyfi, it's our pleasure to have you here today.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Seyfi, and I'm from Turkey, and I'm the board member of Tetra-Force Nutrition Company in Ankara, which is capital of Turkey. And before I start my presentation, I think it's going to be better to introduce myself. And I worked with a lot of international company in my professional background. And in my experience, I gave a lot of professional suggestion, advices to some certain region of the world. And I was giving the technical service on the feed milling technology and the poultry nutrition to some certain region in the world, like Middle East, Africa, Russia, South Asia, and South America to some extent. And then I left the multinational companies. Then we established our own company with my partners, which is Tetra-Force. And now we have been distributing Lachance company in Turkey. And thank you very much organizing this webinar for Lachance Group, and thank you very much for you attending this meeting. And today I'm going to talk about the growth enhancer, innovative and profitable growth enhancer for poultry. And this is my agenda during my presentation. First of all, I'm going to talk about the global effects on the poultry nutrition. Then later on, I'm going to talk about the Turkey overview in terms of the animal industry and animal production, what's happening for the time being in Turkey. And then later on, I'm going to share some certain production figures in Turkey, not only for poultry, but also for other animal industry. And then later on, I'm going to talk about the alternative growth enhancers. And then later, I'm going to talk about the bile acid concepts. And then we are going to share some results of commercial trials, both in the broiler and also the layer industry in Turkey. And as you know, in Turkey, and also not only in Turkey, but also in the global wide, inflation and exchange rates are changing a lot. Especially in Turkey, the exchange rates has been changed more than 100% compared to the 1 year ago in Turkey. So these kind of things is impacting the price of the food and also the other the goods in the country. And of course, as you know and as you're aware, the raw material supply is facing a lot of difficulties, and then raw material prices are going up every day. So this kind of things impacting the feed cost, and then the feed cost, of course, is one of the main important part of the total animal production cost. That's the reason the animal production cost is being increased by such kind of reasons. And energy cost is flying nowadays, and lots of reasons for that. And finally, we are now facing and seeing the war between Russia and Ukraine, and this war also impacting the energy and fuel costs in the world, not in the country, but also in all region in the world. And that's the reason there is a high volatility, not only the food prices, but also in the raw material prices, which is increasing the feed cost, and also finally it is impacting the food cost, which is consumed by the human. And when you look at some exchange rate of the US dollar and also the euro, it is now 14 to, I need to say it's very close to the 15 lira. And the euro, when it's come to the euro is a little bit more than the 16 lira. So when you compare this 16 lira in terms of euro exchange rate, compared to the 1 year ago, it is, I need to say, it is doubled. And I can say the same things for the US dollar. So this is really unpredictable increase in the US dollar and also the euro in the country. Yes, there are some changes in the exchange rate of euro and the US dollar in some other countries, but not that much, I need to say. So Turkey is very affected by this exchange rate in 1 year. And you see here the Turkey and inflation rate. Inflation rate is really very high at the moment. For example, this is showing us the February, the latest, it is 54 something, but now according to the official figure, the inflation rate at the moment 61%. So if you compare the last year, for example, the last year in March, it's only the 16 point, and now in April, 61 point. So it's really very high inflation rate. And the inflation rates, of course, are impacting the interest rate in the banking system. That's the reason it is really very difficult to find suitable interest rate with credit. So the situation is really very difficult to make some business in Turkey, but even though the animal production is still making the business in Turkey, and they are making some money to some extent. But I'm going to talk about the detail for each segment later. And this is the commodity price, which I got from the World Bank statistic. And you see every commodity price are increasing compared to the 2 years or 3 years ago. So globally, yes, we are facing a big problem in terms of the prices for commodity, because the cost of the production is being increased. That's the reason commodity prices are flying nowadays. So which is impacting all the people in the world. And let us give some figures about the Turkish feed industry, and then later on the animal production. And when you look at the feed production in Turkey, according to the Feed Planet, and this is also confirmed by the officials in Turkey, and now Turkey is producing more than 27 million tons of animal feed. So this is really a very big amount in terms of feed production. In the Europe-wide, if you compare this figure against the other European countries, I think Turkey should be number 1 or number 2. But as far as I know, the number 1 in terms of the feed production, and the second one I think should be the France in our region. When you look at this feed production according to the animal species, you see here the fish feed, the cattle feed, dairy feed, turkey, layer, breeder, and the broiler feed. And when you look at the cattle feed, including the dairy feed, and it's more than 12 and very close to the 13 or 14 million tons of feed. And so the second one is poultry feed. Poultry feed is very close to the 10 million tons. But I need to say the last couple of months, this figure is reduced a little bit. I need to say 2% or 1% is reduced on a monthly basis, because of there is a narrow in terms of consuming of the animal proteins. When I talk to some related people, they are complaining about there are some narrowing in the chicken meat in the supermarkets. This is about the 5% because of the food prices, I need to say, because when you look at the personal income in Turkey, it's not too much, and that's the reason the people are putting some limitation to buy some foods. That's the reason there is some very limited narrow on the food purchasing by the consumers, I need to say, in Turkey. So, but there is still the great deal of the feed production in Turkey. And when you talk to the Feed Manufacturer Association president, he's my friend, by the way, and he's expecting to increase the feed production at the end of this year. This is his expectation, and of course, there should be some reason to increase the feed production. If you increase the animal food production, of course you can, or if you increase your exportation of the animal foods to the surrounding countries or other countries, then you can increase the feed production. So according to the figures in terms of the tourism, and we are going to have some certain tourists compared to the last year, it's going to be a little bit more. And so the consumption of the chicken, the eggs, and also the meat is going to be increased. That's the reason I think we can increase the feed production in 2022. This is our expectation. And when you look at the chicken meat production, this is the monthly basis, and this graph is comparing to 3 years, 2020, 2021, and 2022. And you see here, it's covered only the 1 month in the 2022. And when you look at the figure, and if we go like this, then I think we can increase our chicken meat production at the end of this year. I think it's going to be a little bit more than 2 million tons at the end of the year. So if we can achieve this, it's the good progress compared to the last year, 2021, I can say. Okay, let us come to the commercial egg production. And commercial egg production, as you see on the graph, is very fluctuable in Turkey. And this sector is impacted very frequently by the exploitation, by the inland consumption, and also the all other economic indicators are affecting this sector in Turkey. And for example, from time to time, the exploitation to the surrounding countries like Iraq or Syria is sometimes banned by the importer countries because of some certain reasons, especially the security reasons. Then the price is getting down in Turkey. And for the time being, when you talk to the egg production producers, they are saying there are more the hens in Turkey, and that is the reason the prices are now getting down. And honestly saying, for the time being, the egg producers are losing the money in Turkey right now. So I think maybe the consolidation is going to be done in the near future. It means that the smaller size of the egg production is going to be consolidated with the bigger one, I can say. And then this is, I think, needed to survive for such kind of smaller companies in the country. And again, but when you talk to the egg production people at the moment, they are always complaining about the prices, because when you look at the cost of the eggs, and when you look at the sales price, they are really losing the money at the moment. And hopefully exploitation is going to be much bigger, and then they are going to restart again the money, I can say. When it's come to the meat production is also the same. And when you talk to the meat production, they are now break-even point in terms of sales and cost. It means that they are not making the money, but they are trying to survive within this economic conditions. But they are expecting the government is going to put some increment on the milk prices. By the way, milk prices is determining by the government in Turkey. There is a council for that, and this council is increasing the milk prices according to the situation and according to the requirements. And red meat production, they are also making money, but the money they are making is very limited, I need to say. Today now there are some support from the government. The government is giving some subsidy for the fattening cattle. But even though when you talk to the producers, red meat producers, they are not happy with the support that comes from the government. They are always saying this should be higher than now, they are saying. But I can say they are making money to some extent for the time being. But the problem is the number of the beef cattle is declined in Turkey, because when you talk to the producers, we are not making money we want to have. That's the reason we are slaughtering the beef cattle at the moment in Turkey. But again, I need to say, maybe there is some problem with the economic size of the production. This is also important in Turkey. Okay, let us come to our main focus today. And you know that in Turkey, the antibiotic growth promoters have been banned in 2006. It has been more than 14 years, I need to say. And after the ban of the antibiotic growth promoters, there are a lot of alternatives came to the Turkey. When we say the alternatives, they are not exactly alternatives, because when you think about it, the mode of action of antibiotic growth promoter compared to the alternatives like probiotics, prebiotics, or acidifiers, different than what antibiotic does in the metabolism. That's the reason I personally cannot say these are the exact alternatives for the antibiotic growth promoters in terms of mode of action. But of course, there are still some alternatives. They are saying alternatives, but I'm saying not exact alternatives. There are some other products can improve the digestion or other metabolic functions in the organism. These are the probiotics, and this sometimes can be only the one single bacteria or yeast or blend of some bacteria, you know, the probiotics. And the main function is competitive exclusion, and this is sometimes, according to the conditions, can work in the metabolism. And prebiotics, you know that the probiotics are non-digestible oligosaccharides, and like most, for example. And when it's come to the acidifiers, you know, these are in general organic acid, can be classified as acidifiers, but from time to time, not only the organic acid are being used, but also sometimes inorganic acid, like orthophosphoric acid, for example, can be used as acidifiers in the feed. And another alternative, the products may come from the plant, and which is called plant extracts or phytobiotics, and like the capsaicin, the carvacrol, and thymol can be classified within this group. There are some main effects of this plant extract in the metabolism, digestion effect, antioxidant effect, and also the digestion effect, and also the antibacterial effects. When it's come to the other nutraceuticals, such as copper sulfate and zinc sulfate, and it sometimes can be used as the growth promoters or growth enhancer, that some of you should know that I think there are some limitation in terms of using the feed for zinc and copper, not only in Turkey, but also in the Europe. That's the reason I can say, for example, as a growth promoters, copper sulfate or the zinc compounds are not being used in the Turkey as the promoters. Okay, let us come to the bile acid, which is called Runion. This is the trade name of the bile acid, which is produced by Lachance Group, you know. And this is really a new and profitable growth driver for poultry. Not only globally, but also in the Turkey at the moment. We are selling and we are seeing the benefits of this product in the poultry, and also we just started to sell this product to the aqua sector in Turkey. And what are the main functions of this product? And you know that this is the bile acid, and this is bile acid. When you look at the molecule, it's the kind of phospholipids and lots of molecule in it. And when you look at the main functions, the bile acids are able to improve the fat digestion and the absorption of this feed fat in the metabolism. So it means that if you use the bile acids in the feed, so you can improve your the fat digestion and absorption in the feed. This is really very important, because you are going to use the energy that comes from the feed efficiently in the metabolism. That's the reason this is really very important, because it is going to increase the efficiency of the energy use in the metabolism. And when it's come to the protect the liver and intestinal health, because this molecule is regulating the lipid metabolism in the liver, and also the some bile acids, deoxycholic and canodeoxycholic acids, they are having the antibacterial effects in the intestine, and this is scientifically proven. And when it's come to the mycotoxin detoxification support, and this is also have been proven scientifically, because the apolar group of bile acids are able to bind to the mycotoxins, and also the medicine residues, antibiotic and other medicine residuals, and then they are forming the different molecule, which is a very limited toxic or the totally atoxic molecule. Then it's going to be thrown out by the feces later. So there are the four main functions of the bile acid when they are used in the animal feeding. They improve the fat digestion and absorption, increase the energy efficiency, protect the liver and intestinal health, the mycotoxin support, and also it is helping the detoxification of the mycotoxins, and also it is helping the takeout of the antibiotic and other medicinal residues from the body out by the feces. And we did some trial in the commercial broiler houses in one of the important broiler integrations in Turkey. And this is one of the trials result here. And this is, you see here, trial design in commercial houses. There are two houses in the same farm. One is separated for the trial and the other one is control group. And each houses has the same capacity, which is 60,000. And when you look at the breeds, this is the major breeds in Turkey, Ross 308, and this is S-hatched blocks. And when it's come to the formulations, and also, by the way, all the chicks comes from the same age of all the breeds. This is also important, and the breeds are 45 weeks of age. This is also important because sometimes it has been asked that, Seyfi, what is the age of the breeds for the chicks that's come from? And the breed stage is 45 weeks of age. And feed formulations for this trial and control were identical, all the same, but for each phases, and the corn and soybean meal-based formulation. And the formulation were designed on the Aviagen recommendations. You know that there is a nutrition specification which is suggested by Aviagen, and this company applied these Aviagen recommendations and made the formulation based on that. And 250 gram Runeon were added into the feeds for trial group only, while the control group had no the Runeon in the feeds. And flocks were slaughtered at the 41 days, and the FCR, the final body weight, mortality, and daily weight gain have been measured as the performance parameters. And here are the results. You see here the parameters which I counted, and this is the initial chick weight, and this is the average daily weight gain, and final body weight, FCR, total mortality, age to slaughter, and European production efficiency factor, you see. Actually, I need to say, to summary, when you look at the European production efficiency, and you can see how bile acid affected positively on the performance. And you see there is a big difference between European production efficiency in favor of the Runeon trial. The Runeon trial is 364, while the control is 339. So this is the big difference, which is coming from the average daily gain, final body weight, and mainly the FCR. you see there is a big difference in the FCR, while the FCR in trial group was 1.65, in control group 1.75. There is a 6 point the improvement in favor of the trial group. And can you imagine that 6 points is really very important in terms of the money, because FCR does mean the money, you know. And when you look at the final body weight, still there is a significant difference, even though there is a improvement FCR, but with the reduced FCR, you can have the more body weight. This is really very good for a broiler integration and for a big company. This is really money. And now this company just started to use this bile acid for all flocks commercially, and they are using 10 tons per month at the moment. And the other data come from the ongoing trials, and we are doing these trials in one of the commercial farm in Turkey, commercial layers companies. And this trial is going to end at the end of the mid of May, because the duration of the trial is going to take 60 days. And that's the reason it is going to will end at the end of the next month, I need to say. And what is the trial design? Actually, there is no exact trial design, but there are two farms, two houses, sorry, on the farms. Each capacity is 50,000, and when you look at the breed is Lohman W80, and they wanted to see what is the effect of Runion on the fat digestion, because actually they wanted to use meat and bone meal in their feed, because when they use the meat and bone meal, and they are able to reduce the feed cost in their feed formulation, but they were reluctant to use meat and bone meal because of the high fat, and this high fat is not going to be digested well by the hens. That's the reason when we introduced the Runion to them, and they told me that, okay, Seyfi, we are going to make a trial, and in this trial we have two houses, each capacity is 50,000. We are not going to change any things in the feed formulation, but on the trial group we are going to add 200-gram Runion. This is the only change in these two groups. In the trial group, they used the 200-gram Runion, but also the main change is the meat and bone meal. And they added the meat and bone meal 3 kilogram per ton of feed in the trial group. Can you imagine that 30 kilogram meat and bone meal is bringing a lot of fat into the feed, and this fat should be absorbed and also digested by the animal. So they do want to see about what is the effect of Runion on this fatty formulation. And there is no exact data so far, because as I said to you, this is going to be end of so mid of the May, the next month. That's the reason every week I've been talking with the nutritionist of this company, and he shared me some data verbally. And according to this data, there is no significant difference in two groups in terms of production parameters. When I say the production parameters, the egg production, the cracked egg, and the egg weight and other parameters, there is no significant difference. And we're just showing that this Runion is working well in the formulation, having the 30 kilogram of meat and bone meal. When you look at the crude oil level in this two formulation, crude oil is almost double than the control group. It means that this is really very good in terms of showing how Runion is working well in the in such kind of formulation having very high crude oil. So according to this raw data, I can say Runion is really cost-saving material, because when they use the 30 kilogram of meat and bone meal, they are they are reducing the cost of feed to some extent, and which is important for them. And in these conditions, Runion is really cost-saving additives, I can say, in the feed formulations, and also the performance improved in the animals, I can say. So sorry for this raw data, because as I explained, I couldn't get any written data from the company, but they are going to share all the data at the end of the mid of May, when the trial is done. So I'm going to have a chance to share with the Lachance group, and then they are going to share with you, I think, all the data, which is showing the exact result of the Runion trials and the commercial layers. Thank you very much for your attention in the question and answer session. I'm going to answer your question if you have, with my pleasure. Thank you very much all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Seyfi. That was a great and very informative presentation. So is everyone still with me? So I hope so, because before we move on to our last speaker, I guess we need to take another quick break through this third poll question. So I think kindly flash the third poll question. Do you have fatty liver problems from your laying hen farm? You have 10 seconds to answer. Okay, time's up. Once again, thank you for participating. So we can move on to our question and answer segment for Mr. Seyfi. So may I invite you again to join with me, and we'll take 3 questions from the audience. So the first question, Mr. Seyfi, in addition to MBM, is there any other ideas for cost reduction in Turkey's laying hen industry?
Okay, thank you very much for this nice question. Yes, there are some other alternatives can be used instead of the sunflower meal. There are some other protein sources in Turkey. And of course, such kind of alternatives can be used depending on the price of it in laying hens, not only in laying hens, but also in the poultry feed formulation, I need to say. And for example, the sunflower meal or the substock oil comes from the acidic oil, sometimes can be used in the poultry feeds in Turkey. But the main important things is the price. If the price is okay, and in terms of the cost effective in the formulation, then such kind of sunflower meal or full-fat soybean meal can be used as the alternative protein or energy sources in the laying hens in Turkey.
All right. So another question from the same person. How's the ROI analysis after the bile acids added for the broiler case?
You mean that return on investment?
Yes.
Okay. Honestly, I can say the return on investment, when you calculate after these trials and the commercially use in the company now we are working with, return on investment 1 to 4, 1 to 5 at the moment. So this is really very good. The return on investment, comparing the growth enhancer which are being used in Turkey. So this is really very good result, and which is also satisfied with the company, for the company, and also the owner of the company. This is really very satisfied return on invest.
Okay. So I think we will take the last questions because we have a limited time. So with reference to what you discussed earlier, one audience says is that asked if can we say that what you mentioned earlier, it strengthens the immune system as well as fat digestion, liver health, and intestinal health?
This is also another nice question. I need to say, yes, you can have a good immunity with the bile acid, because as I mentioned during my presentation, there are some good effect on the antibacterial with the deoxycholic and canodeoxycholic acid. This is really very good. And also you are going to regulate the fat metabolism, not in the liver, but also in the digestion and absorption system. That's the reason if you have the good the digestion and if you have the good absorption of the nutrients, then you are going to keep your immune system very well. So of course it's going to support the immune system. So this is the this is kind of package which is protecting the pathogen bacteria, and also the providing the absorption and nutrition of the not only the fat but also the other nutrients, I need to say, to some extent.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question from the audience. Once again, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Seyfi, for presenting your topic and answering a few of our questions. So to our audience, if you have further questions to him, just type it in our Q&A box and he will reply to it, of course. Thank you so much, Mr. Seyfi, and have a good day.
I thank you very much, and also thanks for all the attendees for this webinar today. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so now we're moving on to our last speaker, who is a professor from the College of Animal Science in Shandong Agricultural University. He has a PhD in animal nutrition, and he is also a doctoral supervisor. Our speaker is a member of the National Laying Hens Industry Technology System and a council member of the Animal Health Nutrition Association in China. So he has more than 60 scientific papers that have been published, including more than 30 articles in English. So please welcome our last speaker for today, Professor Song Zhigang.
This is Song from Shandong Agricultural University. Today, I would like to share the topic of less price but better performance strategies for poultry feed in China. My presentation will include the following 4 parts. This contains an inseparable to resolve our current challenges in poultry feed. Of course, I cannot specify the details, but the most important information will be noted, and I hope this speech could give you some sparks in your feed design and market development. First of all, we will look at the current situation of poultry feed in China. The most recent production amount and the price of the typical poultry feed will be shown. The poultry feed challenge will be described. The risk response from government and enterprise will be briefly discussed. The feed production of laying hens in this March was 2.6 million tons, which increased 13% than February, but almost the same as last March. The broader date was 7.3 million tons in this March, which increased 19% than February, and also almost the same as last March. This means the poultry breeding amount did not change too much. However, the poultry feed price had increased more than 8%, and half of the increases happened in March. Is the global high corn and soybean price extended to the feed chains? The answer may be yes. So let's see the general challenges in feed besides global high raw material price. The most prominent point is the feed prohibition of antibiotics. This led to more intestinal disease in poultry. The recent global food price has been said in the former slide. The other concern is the uncertainty of vitamin and amino acid. Sometimes these active prices fluctuate sharply. Also, we all know the minerals and trace elements are non-renewable. This is why some mineral material increased so much this year, just like calcium monophosphate. In short, these challenges will eventually lead to competition for food between humans and birds, which will cause feed and food safety problems. Then, what should we do and what we have done in China? First, the government realized the severe challenges. 3 basic strategies have been proposed by Ministry of Agriculture. These include the replacement of corn and soybean meal with unconventional raw materials, which will be presented in the next 2 slides, to improve the raw material database with dynamic nutritional needs, and to accelerate the application of low-protein diet with the synthetic amino acid addition. Through these 3 programs, the government is determined to achieve the target of low energy, low protein, and high feed conversion rate in animal breeding field. These are the recommended energy feedstuff for the replacement of corn, wheat, barley, brown rice, sorghum, wood grain, sugar residue, and other food processing byproducts. And these are the recommended protein feedstuff for the replacement of soybean meal, corn DDGS, corn gluten meal, peanut meal, wheat meal, and so on. So we can see almost all of these unconventional materials are familiar to us. The question is, do we really develop the potential nutrition values of them? More work needs to do. Now let us see the strategies from the enterprise. The poultry feed factory in China belong to these 4 kinds. The first one is big groups. Normally, these groups are engaged in so many industries, including real estate, heavy industry, financial industry, agriculture, and so on. They will deal with the challenges with futures, mass purchasing, and customization position. The feed is only one small part of their business, so we just overlook them. There are still 3 more kinds of poultry feed factories. One line cooperation with breeders, hatchery, broiler, or laying breeding, meat or egg processing. Feedstuff cooperation with more than 100 to 200,000 tons per month, and a feedstuff company with less than 100,000 tons per month, even less. How do these 3 kinds of factories fit to the challenge? Okay, for one line cooperation, strict quality control will be applied. The whole industrial chain is focused on. The profit from the whole industrial chain is more important than feed price. The system stability is the principle. So their feed formula is almost fixed, with minor adjustment when some large raw material changed. For feedstock cooperation, the feed formula is also almost fixed. They can use mass purchasing. They set up their own research farm. The poultry feed will be tested before sold to the market. Some even have their own business farm, but only to mimic the market breeding condition for the field verification of their feed. For middle or small feedstock company, the formula is flexible and new raw materials are used frequently. They will do the passive corrections with market validation. Besides the above strategies, some novel technologies in poultry feed manufacture have been applied in China. The first is feedstock pre-treatment technology. This includes microbiological fermentation method. This figure describes the process of this technique in brief. The physical, chemical, biological treatment has also been widely used in poultry feed production, separately or together. In general, the benefit of raw material or feed pretreatment can improve the nutritional value, increase the animal gastrointestinal health, improve feed palatability and intake, and of course, save the feed cost. The second is the application of post-spring technology. This is common for the addition of feed, fungicide, microorganism, and other components without heat resistance. The beneficial effects are very obvious. The third is feed quality improvement technology. This includes feedstock expansion and feed flavor, which is familiar to us. The new trend is the application of feed processing and methods such as starch, gelatinization, and lipid optimization. The fourth new technology or new trend is the recommendation of coated and controlled release of amino acid. This idea comes from the hypothesis that critical amino acid will be absorbed in the front small intestine, and the back end cannot obtain enough for the tissue growth. The claimed benefits are listed here and for your reference. Finally, here come the antibiotics alternatives. Enzyme and microecology preparation, together with acidifier, have been widely recognized as the effective products for the health improvement in place of antibiotics. The novel plant extract, especially the combination products of essential oils, flavor, enzyme, is also become the common additives in poultry feed, especially with the decreased prices. More and more poultry feed adopted antibacterial peptide, and with the increased production and improved process of organic minerals, these products has been applied in commercial feed besides broiler feed. In broiler feed, emulsifier is commonly used, as you can see today. Bile acid has got more and more attention in China poultry feed, not only because its benefit in lipid digestion and metabolism. More and more functions have been rewarded, such as liver protection, limit vitamin, digestion, and so on. Medium-chain fatty acid and its derivatives have also been used for the intestinal health improvement. Furthermore, I will talk a little bit about the poultry nutrition research topics in China. Nutrition and immunity. In traditional, the nutrition requirement was set up according to the growth, reproduction, and so on. More research now has focused on the immune effects of nutrients. We all knew nutrients cannot cure disease, but good nutrition brings better resistance indeed. Also, nutrition plays important roles in stress response. To a certain extent, disease is the extreme appearance of stress. The common breeding problems are presented here. Some can be avoided by vaccines. Some problems must be solved from the perspective of nutrition. In general, good nutrition will lead to gut, respiratory, reproductive tract, skin, and feather health. The basis of disease-resistant nutrition is the choice of feedstock and accurate use. So here comes the concept of precision nutrition. The detailed information can be discussed in other special lectures. Besides the above 3 parts in my speech, here I would like to introduce some key points of biosecurity strategies in poultry breeding. Anyway, our customers will judge the quality of our feed by the production performance of poultry. Thinking the market position, we, feed producers, have the responsibility to help them raise the poultry better. First of all, the feed and water biosecurity should be paid enough condition. Every means must be used to ensure that the feed and water are clean and safe. Second, personnel, vehicles, and facilities should accept strict disinfection and protection procedures. Small techniques will give us big awards. The biosecurity goals are to provide the poultry with healthy internal environment. This means of poultry body, comfortable external condition. This means poultry house, proper macro environment. This means farm location and so on. The same environment will ensure the better poultry performance, promote the good quality of the feed, and lead to the sustainable development of poultry breeding. For more information about this topic, please refer to the new edition of Biosecurity in Animal Production and Veterinary Medicine. Thanks for your attention. This is the mountain behind my house. Looking forward to meeting you on top of mountain after this global pandemic. With best wishes to all of you and your family. See you.
Thank you so much, Professor Song Zhigang, for your presentation. And I do hope our audience has learned a lot from what just presented. And before we finally end this segment, let's have our last poll questions for today. So we will now flash to your screen our fourth poll question. You have 10 seconds to answer.
Yes,
Okay.
I will choose yes.
Okay, time's up. Okay, so I think we have to move on to our last question and answer segment. May I ask Professor Zhigang to join me again? If you can open your camera, and we have actually one question for you.
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Yeah, so one of the questions is, will farmers make the margin under the situation with so many additives?
Yes. The question is very clear. So my answer is that not all additives will be used one time, but all additives can be found in the poultry feed market. This is really up to the technology of feed formulation. The margin method should up to the market and more technologies. Sometimes they will reduce some other levels, for example, fat levels, and use bile acid and also other emulsifiers. That's the one, yes. I hope this answered well.
Yes, okay. So we have a limited time. Taking our last question. You mentioned earlier that smaller feed mills are more flexible in their feed formulation. Are they more accepting in using alternative proteins?
Sorry, the last part of your question, I cannot get you.
Yes, he's asking if are they more accepting in using alternative proteins, because you mentioned earlier that smaller feed mills are more flexible in their feed formulation.
Yes, I mean the small factory, they use lots of materials, and they will validate their formula according to the market response. So everything can be possible in small factories.
Okay. All right, so I think that's it for the presentation of Professor Zhigang. I'm so sorry that we cannot take any more questions, but again, if you have any questions, feel free to chat it in the Q&A box, or you can email our team, and then our speakers can address it later. So once again, thank you so much for your time, Professor Zhigang. And that's the wrap of this today's webinar. I would like to thank our sponsor, Shandong Longshan Animal Health Products Corporation Limited, for organizing this insightful webinar, and to all our speakers who shared their knowledge and patiently answered all our questions from the audience. And most especially, thank you to all our attendees for joining us in the past 2 hours and participating to our poll questions. We do hope that you learned new things and bring home your learnings that you can apply to your businesses and day-to-day living. And the webinar isn't over yet, because we will be back tomorrow for our second day webinar sessions. So before I officially close the webinar, may I request everyone to please answer our survey form, which you can find its link in the chat box, so that we can further improve our future webinars. So once again, thank you for attending, and see you again tomorrow. Stay safe.